Hello budget friends, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Welcome back to the channel, but if you're new here, welcome. My name is Melissa. This is going to be a paycheck budget closeout here in Google Sheets for the first paycheck of July. Let's jump in and take a look at the numbers. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. We're just going to do a quick run through of the paycheck that ended on the 18th of July. I did get paid on the 19th, so we just need to close this out, wrap this up. I'm not going to go through the transaction logs like I've done in the past because I've done a lot of that in YNAB, but here I want to show you guys the numbers side to side, what was budgeted and what was spent. Okay, so let's start. So the rollover from the month of June was $1,950 and a penny. And this you probably have seen in YNAB. This is the money that I started out with because I had taken some money back from the rent in the month of June. So July's rent was a little bit short. I started out with just $1,950 and a penny. So our main income that came in the month of July, or the first pay period of July, was $5,118.87. That is all of my yellows here. So I made $10 on Uber. My first paycheck was $2,776.87. Hubby sent over $1,000. And then the first week in July, I made $125.07 doing Instacart. Next up, the SSI benefits came in for $1,342. I made the $824.10 doing Instacart. Hubby transferred over $500. This was to take care of the last installment for the tickets for the kids to go to Jamaica. Then he sent over $400. This was $400 for stuff that I went out and bought him from TJ Maxx, Walmart, and Marshalls. These are the reimbursements here. And then he transferred another $20 in because I asked him to buy me breakfast. So I went to a doctor's appointment. It was very early. I didn't stop to make myself anything at home. And I had breakfast on the road. He paid for it. I only spent $11.71 at Panera. So all that total, $518.87, plus this $1,879.57, because what I just did was I went over all of the income that came in. So total that we're working with is $8,948.45, and I only budgeted $4,655. So there was nothing that happened in the first part of July, like the first 2 days, nothing really happened. So technically July started for me on the 3rd with me setting aside money, additional monies to pay the rent. So here we go, $2,500 was set aside for the rent. I had only budgeted $1,250 because, and this is a flaw that I had found that I spoke about before, what I need to do is to pull in the money from the rollover that I am setting aside from the previous paycheck and then also budget it here. But I didn't do that and I didn't feel like changing it. So it is what it is. The $2,500 came out. So we're not really over budget. It's just that I didn't account for it. As you can see here, there was no rollover that was put in, but I should have put in the rollover amount. All right, electric, I had budgeted $56, which would have been half of the electric, but same thing that went for the rent. I had to pull some monies back. I had to pay the full electric bill for the month of July, which was $107.57. So technically this is over budget for the pay period, but it's the same thing as the rent. HP Inc., I budgeted $5, but it came in at $5.42. Peloton, I budgeted $44, and it came in at $44. Google Cloud, I budgeted $3, but it came in under budget at $2.16. Now, cell phone, I did budget to put half, which I didn't do. And the internet, I budgeted to put a half, and I didn't do that also. So $1,564.50 was what was budgeted, but I actually spent $2,659.15. Next up is the My Babies section. So I didn't budget anything for after school, which I should have because I did set aside that $15, and the $15 came out. The babysitter, I didn't budget anything, but I spent $40. That's for the day, well, 3 hours that the kids were there while I went to the doctor's. Braces, 164, that came out. Child support, 263, that came out. Clothes and shoes, I didn't budget anything, but I ended up buying 2 Crocs for the kids for $78.45. Nothing for fun money and allowance or gifts, and haircuts was budgeted at $30 and $30 came out. Tours and activities, $0. So out of the $457 that I budgeted, I ended up going over budget and spending $590.45. In the transportation section, my auto loan was budgeted at $470, but I did make the command decision to go ahead and pay the full amount instead of having that money sit aside for the half of my rent and wait while my auto loan was charging me interest by the day. So the amount of interest that I was going to make with the money just sitting there doesn't equal the amount of money that they're going to charge me for interest. So I went ahead and sent them the full payment, and then we'll just replenish the half of the rent. Car insurance, I budgeted $275. I didn't pay anything in this pay period. It's going to come out of pay period number 2 of July. Car fuel, I budgeted $125, but you guys, you've heard about this and heard about this many times. $456.12 was what was spent. Maintenance and repairs, I budgeted $0, but I spent $37 to get our car or expedition inspected. Parking fees and tolls, nothing. So I budgeted $870, but spent $1,433.12. In the everyday spending section, I budgeted $25 for copay, but ended up spending $52.70. I budgeted $71 for eating out and ended up spending $145.38. Groceries was budgeted at $350. I came in at $395.16. Giving $5 and I spent $15. Household goods, I budgeted $50, and look at that. That's the only one. That's the only one that came in under at $49.91. Medications, I budgeted $25, but there was quite a few meds that I needed to pick up, and it cost me $100.83. Propane, nothing was budgeted, but I spent $161.14. Reimbursements, this came back to me. $274.77 was spent. This is buying stuff for hubby. He sent back $400, so I kind of gained some money there. Unexpected spending, $41.97. I didn't budget anything for that. So $526 was budgeted, and we ended up spending $1,236.86. In the personal section, I budgeted $30 for braids and things. I ended up spending $15.17. Pedicure, I budgeted $60. That money was rerouted somewhere else because I spent nothing. Personal products, I budgeted nothing. I spent $8.50. And spend how I want. I didn't budget anything, but I spent $11.77. So out of $90, this category came in under, and that sucks because this is my personal category. I spent $35.44. Now in the main focus section, my student loan wasn't budgeted. It should have came out of the last pay period of June, but it didn't. It rolled into the first pay period of July for $40. One main, I had budgeted the $254, but I ended up sending the full minimum payment of $508. Lending Club was budgeted at $800, but the automatic payment only took $530, and the additional $300 was rolled into something else. So $1,054 was budgeted, and I spent $1,078. In the credit card section, I didn't budget anything for Marcus, but I did pay $74.92. Discover, nothing was budgeted, and I spent $163.88. Mattress Firm, $67 budgeted, $67 spent. Famous Footwear is nothing. Carter's, I budgeted $0, but I paid $389.43. Chase budgeted nothing, spent nothing. Capital One number 1, I didn't budget anything, but I sent over $324.62. Capital One number 2, I budgeted nothing. I sent over $59.92, and Apple Card, nothing budgeted or spent. So $67 was the only minimum payment that I scheduled for my credit cards in the first pay period. But you guys. This was because of the method that I was using. I was using my monthly bills to satisfy the minimum payments. Mattress Firm, I couldn't do that because Mattress Firm is a store card and I can't use it like a Visa and a MasterCard. So I did budget the minimum payment for that. But I have changed my mind and I'm now going to make my minimum payments so I can pay down my credit card debts. So I ended up spending $1,079.77. In the sinking funds section, I sent over some money to the sinking funds. I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to do a separate sinking funds video. This $444.99, I didn't know where to put it because in my YNAB budget, I had a travel category. I had a travel category for the tickets because this $444.99 is the tickets. You know what? I'm going to put it to unexpected spending just for this budget, just for my numbers to make sense. So I'm taking it out of vacation and travel, and let's put it to unexpected spending. So there you go. It's going to change the total here to 0. So the amount that I sent over to my sinking funds, and I will give a breakdown in another video, is $136.09. We're going to round everything out, and at the end of the month, I will give you guys a sinking funds update as to how much money was sent to each category. So let's talk about the totals. We brought in $8,948.45. That includes rollover, but we spent $8,693.87. That's leaving us with $254.58. Now, let me tell you, when I closed out the budget in YNAB, there was $251.40 left. That was the total that was left over. So technically, I'm off by like $3. $3.18 is what I'm off. I'm not sure where this money went. I don't know. I'm not sure. I am so close, and I'm not going to gripe over $3.18. We came in very close. So this is what I'm starting paycheck number 2 with, $251.40. That is going to be my rollover into paycheck number 2, and we'll see how that paycheck goes. So I need to make something clear to you guys. I did not incur any additional expense on a credit card. There is 0 expense on my credit card from this pay period. So whatever was charged to the card, whether it was gas or a bill, it was paid back, you guys. And this is a major shift. This is a huge accomplishment, a big old win for me. So I will pat myself on the back, because months ago, I was charging things to credit card that will keep rolling into different months. And I'm so happy that I was able to cover all of my credit card expenses and nothing is rolling over into the next pay period. So let's see if we could carry that on for the second half of July and see if we could close out July with no additional credit card expense. All right. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I would love for you to follow along with my journey. But until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye now.